on the last meeting, we had, sorry, before I continue, I forgot to mention that we are recording this session. I apologize. We're recording this session, just this session, the main topic for the renters that couldn't be here tonight live, so they can watch later. So please feel free to turn off your camera if you don't feel comfortable being on camera during this session. So back to the main topic. And so first in June, the June's meeting, we talk about the city budget, the budget 101. And in July, we had Nicole and Sam giving a little update, like a follow-up about the June's meeting. Tonight, we're gonna continue on that, but in a different way. It's gonna be more, we want to hear more your feedback. So tonight, what we're gonna do, we're gonna talk about what types of housing programs and services for renters is the city spending money on it. Sam, if you don't mind sharing the slide. And how much money will the city be spending on those programs? The reason we want to have a basic understanding of those points is that the city still has some money left over from last year's budget, known as free cash. We won't know exactly the amount until October, but we know the city has this free cash. And we also know that the city has millions of dollars coming from the federal government for COVID relief via the American Rescue Plan Act, also known as ARPA. We, CAS, and the Somerville Renters Meeting are planning to meet with our Mayor Valentine in September to advocate for as much of this money as possible to go into housing. At our meeting with the mayor, we plan to educate her on our needs, the renters, the needs of the renters. Later tonight, we'll be asking for your feedback, and that's gonna be during the breakout room. We wanna hear what do you think, where the money should go, how it should be used. So we wanna hear your feedback on which of these programs you wanna see receive more funding, and what else you wanna see the city putting more money so that we can share with the mayor. Now, I'm going to pass it to Camila, who will explain to us the different housing departments in our city and some of the programs they have in place already and their needs.
Thank you, Denise. This might be a little bit confusing, so if you have any questions, please raise your hand. I'll try to keep an eye out for those. However, we will have questions at the end, so if you prefer to ask them at the end, that is fine too. So anyways, there are over $2 million of the city's budget that will go to Somerville's Housing Division and the Somerville Office of Housing Stability for salaries and other administrative costs. Just so you know, the Housing Division deals with two main things: improving the quality of housing, like addressing things like lead paint issues, energy efficiency, and other things like that, as well as managing money the city receives for building affordable housing. On the other hand, the Office of Housing Stability often partners with CAS and does a lot of what CAS's housing advocacy program does. So they help connect renters to rental assistance and access affordable housing. They also educate and advise renters on their rights, similar to CAS's community organizing program. So in terms of the city's budget money that goes directly to programs, $200,000 go to the Office of Housing Stability for specifically programs for rental assistance, homelessness prevention, and legal services. In addition, almost $11 million of the city's budget will go to the Somerville Affordable Housing Trust Fund, which is also called the Trust. The Trust's purpose is to create and support affordable housing in Somerville. The trust money then goes to two different types of programs: rental assistance and buying buildings for affordable housing. So some examples of rental assistance are grants for those who are behind on rent or facing eviction, moving costs like security deposits and first and last month's rent, legal services during eviction, amongst some others. The trust money also helps organizations buy buildings from the market and convert them to affordable apartments or build new affordable units to hopefully increase the permanent affordable housing. An example of these are these two organizations that have received grants from the trust, one of which was the Somerville Community Corporation for their 100 Homes program. And the other one is the Somerville Community Land Trust, who are actually inaugurating their first newly built affordable building on Summer Street this coming August 17th. Lastly, the city has $77 million in funding from the federal government to support recovery from COVID. Sam, if you can, yeah. So as Denise had mentioned, this money comes from the American Rescue Plan Act, known as ARPA. The city, however, has already decided where some of this money will go. $1 million will go to prevent homelessness. Half of that will go to the organization called Somerville Homeless Coalition, and half of that will go to the Housing Advocacy Program at CAS. As part of the mayor's 100-day agenda, though, she mentioned that $3 million are proposed to go into a first of its kind in Massachusetts program. This program is called the Municipal Voucher Program. So some of you might be familiar with what a Section 8 voucher means. However, I'm going to explain it so that everyone's on the same page. It is basically a program for income-eligible renters who apply so that they only have to pay 30% of their income, the whole household income, towards housing, and the rest is paid by the government. These vouchers, though, are used to rent market units, private units, through private landlords, different from public housing, which is managed by Housing Authority. But we all know that Section 8 is really hard to get. There are very, very long waiting lists, and the eligibility is based on your annual income, family size, and is limited only to US citizens. So because of this, the city, and through the Office of Housing Stability, wants to create a version of this program, of the voucher program, but with fewer restrictions that hopefully will be more accessible to residents who do not have access to the Section 8 voucher programs. And again, remember, this program will be called the Municipal Voucher Program. This would be a permanent program, primarily for families in Somerville, in Somerville's public schools or in daycare, again, that are not eligible for the traditional federal housing programs such as Section 8. This program will be very important because, as we know, even as part of this meeting, there are a lot of people who are not eligible for those subsidies. So hopefully Somerville will be able to create one that is helping the people who have no access to other help. And so the Office of Housing Stability is developing this program right now. And as I mentioned, the mayor said that they were going to invest $3 million on that, but they are also trying to apply for some of the ARPA money to be able to finance it and hopefully continue finding financing for this to be an actually permanent program. It is also essential to consider the current needs of Somerville residents when we're talking about housing, right? We want to make sure that we are really creating programs and putting the money in what people actually need. So we reached out to some local directors of programs that help renters work towards housing stability. And we wanted, to hear from them, from their experience, what the most critical needs are. So Sam will take us through those.
Okay, thanks, Camila. So one of the people that we spoke to is named Ashley Tinkin, and she is the director of the Housing Advocacy Program at CAS, the organization that's hosting this meeting. And so, when we asked Ashley, what she said was that, in her opinion, a lot of the funding that they receive, that her program receives to help renters, it's more of a Band-Aid than a solution, because it comes with so many restrictions. Like, for example, there's a limit sometimes on how much money someone can receive over the course of their life. Or sometimes the money can't be applied to prospective rent, which is like your future months of rent. And sometimes it can only be applied to rent that people owe from the past. So I have a quote here from Ashley. So what she says is, what our clients need the most is unrestricted rental assistance, especially for prospective rent, and case managers that can help with long-term housing stability. So that means like helping people apply for other kind of benefits and things that will help them stabilize their income. So that's one perspective. And then we also spoke with Ellen Schachter. Ellen is the director of Somerville's Office of Housing Stability, which we heard about earlier. And Ellen told us that there's two needs that are not currently being met. So the first is vouchers for immigrant families who are not eligible for federal housing resources. That's what Camila was talking about earlier. But Ellen also made it very clear that, in her opinion, here's her quote. She said, the bottom line is, the most important thing is permanent, affordable housing. So, yeah, we thought that was hopefully helpful to bring in some more perspectives around, what can help, everyone who's struggling to pay their rent in Somerville, because the costs are really ridiculous, as you all know. So, we know that Somerville's elected officials will say, oh, affordable housing, it's our #1 priority, right? But just to even find this information that we shared with you tonight, it took us several hours of work. And for us, that is not true transparency. So, yeah, we think that if housing is really a top priority for the city, then this information should be more accessible to all Somerville residents and explained in a very clear manner. And we plan to tell the mayor that when we meet with her. We need transparency, because without transparency, we don't know if and how our elected officials are using the city money to prioritize housing in Somerville. So I know that's kind of a lot of information. I hope it was understandable, but I wanted to see if anyone had a question about anything that was presented so far. We can also try to answer questions in the small groups, but does anyone have a question right now? I'm just kind of looking to see if anyone's hand is raised. Is there?
I see
Dulce?
Dulce and Anne.
Okay.
Sí, buenas tardes.
Go ahead, Dulce. Thank you.
Sí, suena bastante, no sé la palabra utilizarla. Muy buen trabajo, antes que todo buen trabajo acá, todo por mantenernos pues informados acerca de todos estos fondos. Pero suena algo bien raro aquí. ¿Quiénes son? Por ejemplo, yo no conozco los concejales de Somerville. ¿Cómo podemos nosotros directamente hacerles saber a ellas nuestras necesidades? Porque para que no hayan intermedios y escuchen de nosotros, los latinos.
That's a wonderful question, Dulce. Thank you for raising that. Yeah, I mean, of course, their phone numbers and emails are available online. You can find them. But I think, it's a good opportunity to bring our communities together and really like schedule meetings with our elected officials to talk to them about what our needs are and what programs we think really need more funding to be able to serve low income, working class renters. So that's a great question. And that is one thing we're trying to do is, like I said, schedule a meeting with the Mayor Ballantyne, because in Somerville, the mayor actually has a lot of authority over this funding. More so, it's called a mayor strong city. So the city council definitely can help as well, and it's important that we communicate with them. But we want to speak directly to the mayor as well. So that's why we're planning to have that meeting in September, and all of the feedback that we collect tonight, we're going to summarize it and present it to the mayor, along with the Somerville Renters Committee. And yeah, let's keep in touch, Dulce, about other future advocacy. Anne, and then Blanca.
Just a quick thing before, sorry, Ann.
Yeah, it's
Sam,
okay.
if you can speak a little slower for the interpreting. Please go ahead, Ann.
I'm really, first of all, the point of how hard it was for you guys to find this out is crucial. And yes, I'm glad you're going to the mayor. Who would administer the $3 million fund? Because staying on top of that would be very important. This is still a very corrupt city, I think. And so how we stay on top of things, and the point that was just brought up about city councilors is really important, because where I live, we have I live in a 4-building housing complex, and it's subsidized housing. So my rent is stable, but we have other major problems. And we tenants are inviting city councilors to come to coffee hour to talk to us because of the problems we're having. And the last thing I want to say is the support agencies that help this along are really important. And in the case of elder services, they're not there. So that's another real problem, because there are a lot of elderly where I live.
Right.
And there's a huge coordination job that needs to take place among agencies. And I'll stop there. I want to talk about it and the agencies involved in the environment, but I'm not going to do that now. I'm going to stick with.
Yeah, thank you, Anne. It's definitely, all the issues we're facing as a community are definitely all connected. And I just wanted to say we really appreciate all the work you've been doing to organize the tenants where you live and to make sure that your elected officials are listening. So yeah, more to come in the breakout rooms. Go ahead, Camila.
Yeah, I just wanted to, for specifically the 3 million, the municipal voucher program, and that'll be administered by the Office of Housing Stability, which is part of the city. But yeah, I totally agree with you that transparency is 100% important. And we as residents should be able to, hold them accountable. So that's something that we want to advocate as well. We want the money to go here, but we want you to show us where it's going. We want to see the money where it's going. So thank you for bringing that up as well, Anne. Blanca, ¿tienes pregunta?
Sí, soy el esposo de Blanca.
Hola.
Hola, buenas tardes.
Hola.
Está bien interesante todo lo que están comunicándonos y pues nos llama mucho la atención los vales que están mencionando y fuera bueno que se llevara a cabo porque pues hay otros programas que tal vez nosotros como inmigrantes no calificamos. Y ejemplo, nosotros vivimos con nuestros dos hijos en un mismo cuarto. Entonces, es bien difícil, ¿verdad? Porque uno tiene para 11 años y el otro para 8 años, los niños y van a la escuela y Somerville. Y pues ellos dicen, no quiero irme de Somerville, les gusta Somerville. Entonces no nos quedaría de otra porque irnos, digamos, desde la ciudad, donde esta ciudad es muy bonita y es bien difícil porque no podemos nosotros con nuestro presupuesto, digamos, pagar una renta tan cara, ¿verdad? Y pues incluso ya nos pidieron el cuarto hace un mes y no nos podemos mudar porque no encontramos algo que esté a nuestro presupuesto. Entonces, hasta cierto punto estamos afligidos
Claro.
sobre la renta y otra cosa que, pues, como le vuelvo a repetir, los niños no quieren irse de Somerville porque no quieren
Sí.
dejar la escuela.
Right.
Sí.
Yeah.
Gracias por compartir. ¿Me recuerda su nombre?
Elder Mendoza.
Elder. Sí, Elder, esa es una de las cosas que muchas de las familias que quieren quedarse en Somerville mencionan es la educación de sus hijos, ¿no? Y tanto porque son escuelas buenas, pero
Sí.
también porque uno no quiere que los hijos estén cambiando de escuela cada año, cada 2 años, ¿no? Así que eso es muy importante. Y sí, bueno, esa es un poco la idea del voucher municipal, del vale municipal. Un poco la idea es, ¿no? de tratar de llegarle a las familias que en este momento no tienen ninguna ayuda, digamos, de la ciudad, ni del estado, ni del país, ¿no? Así que esa es una cosa que queremos ir y decirle a la alcaldesa lo importante que es, ¿no? Pero bueno, gracias por compartir y ahora
Otra cosa, vivir en un cuarto, los 4 se hace bien difícil, más en este momento, nosotros los 4 estamos positivos del COVID, entonces movernos
Ah.
mismo en el cuarto, en el mismo ambiente, se ha hecho bien difícil.
Claro, no, eso, pues vivir 4 personas en un cuarto no es lo ideal, ¿no? Eso es un poco también lo